Hello, viewers and subscribers. Earlier, I have been working around with my OS61 FSR OS7M carburetor over trying to get a low RPM for when the throttle barrel would seem to be in a typical low idle position, but the RPM still seem too much kind of situation. And some things I've worked around with earlier are like, keeping a seal going between the engine casing and the carburetor. And actually, it's probably hard to see this in the video, but I did a double layer of O-rings between the carburetor and the engine, especially because near the mounting area of the engine for the carburetor, it seems like somebody who, previously owned this OS61 FSR engine did some kind of like welding repair. Sorry about parts where I might be making part of this video look blurry or something. But yeah, I think I could tell that there's been some welding repair on part of the engine casing, to the point that it seems like more, where it would be like thicker O-rings or more like layering of thinner O-rings would be required for an effective seal between the engine case and the carburetor. But actually, with this double layering of O-rings I did, one of them is a thinner one that was sitting on a disassembled OS61 SF7L carburetor, and the other one that's on there is actually a thicker electric brushless motor prop saver from a electric RC brushless motor called the Great Plains Electrifly Rimfire 200 size motor. And of course, that brushless motor I'm talking about would be something you would put on a Micro 2S type RC plane. But definitely for having that one thicker ring and that one thinner ring, it's really providing good seal. And today I just put this whatever giant scale fuel tubing on that idle stop screw. As far as what improvements I've seen about finally getting the seal between the engine case and the carburetor going, is that there's been improvement about like the ability to shut the engine off on a fully closed carburetor, and for being able to drop some RPMs for a low idle looking position on the throttle barrel. But an improvement that's still needed is for when like the throttle barrel is in a typical low idle position and it's not completely shut. I still don't seem to get the real low idle sound. And I would say for like a typical low idle throttle barrel position, it seems like, the engine is still easily like running at 4,500 RPM instead of like, let's just say 3,200 or like 2,900 RPM or something like that. And the prop that I've been doing this with is this Master Airscrew 11 by 7.5. And another thing about something else I've worked on this OS7M carb is replacing the throttle stop screw assembly. This was the original one that I've had on that carburetor. And actually the story is somewhere between like this whatever nut and this thing. There's a metal that broke off. As in that hole there I'm trying to show in this video there. Yeah, like you see part of that metal's like broken, dented. And as well, this whatever flathead screw is bent. And so that throttle stop screw that's on there, that was also something I removed from this disassembled OS7L carburetor that I have, or that I was talking about earlier in this video. And so I guess a big thing to point out again is that as far as improvements I saw, the improvements are that for having the throttle barrel in a typical low idle looking position, that did see a noticeable RPM drop than from prior to actually getting a good seal between the engine and the carb going. But the improvement that's still needed is getting a real like low idle sound going for when the barrel is really in a normal low idle looking position, such as being able to like easily have the engine just run at like 3,000 RPM without the barrel shutting all the way. Because apparently it's like when the barrel is definitely in some normal low idle looking position, that it's easily kind of revving at more like a 4,500 RPM or something. And I've tried doing the counterclockwise turning on the idle stop screw, and there's a part where that idle stop screw being messed with does make a difference in some part, but there's other parts where it doesn't seem to make a difference. Like if you just, let's say, go a half turn difference, it seems like it doesn't seem to make a difference there. But for certain parts where if I did, let's say 4 whole turns, I definitely felt a difference there. As in the, with certain parts of this stop screw where I did 4 whole turns, let's say for example like four whole turns from a whatever point A to a point B, and I definitely saw like a noticeable difference with a throttle barrel opening setting when staying on that exact same idle trim, and of course when I actually did have the receiver turned on while messing with that screw. So yeah, I'm really still trying to figure out to really getting that genuine kind of low idle sound on this carburetor for when the throttle barrel is like legitimately in a low idle looking position. And the great thing is, I test ran the engine earlier today with having that giant scale fuel tubing there, and definitely see a sign that seems like just leaving that tubing there don't hurt at all. And I hope all of you viewers and subscribers enjoyed my presentation video of the recent work I've tried to do on this OS61 FSR 7M carburetor. Thank you all very much.